You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings. But now I shine with your reflection on me. I'm getting back up on my feet. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top. I saw the clouds looking angry, but then the sky reached my mind. And when I space out, I see the possibilities unfolding the way that I want. That you showed up was written in my palm. You are a statement, explode like a bomb. I get to push myself to victory. You make me winner. You cut me loose and set me free. You cut me loose. You make me win in every way. Win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah.
Welcome to the Fierce Entrepreneur Summit. We are so glad that you've joined us live today. And if you are watching the replay, we're just as glad that you have tuned in. We are your MCs. I am Jill Olish, and I'm lucky enough to be co-hosting with the fierce Kim White.
Oh, thank you, Jill, for that. And I have to say, we're so glad that everyone is here today. We're excited that you're here, but we want to remind everybody why we even do the summit. Because here's the thing, if you're in the throes of being a business owner or even a new entrepreneur, you are definitely in the right place. We started the summit because we couldn't find someone who was actually telling the behind the scenes or the truth about how business really looks for us. And we would question, could we really do this? We want you to know you really can do this. And our theme today is very special. So hold on. You're going to hear about that in just a second. But when you're building something, it can be hard. And we want you to know we get it. This is a space for you if you're figuring it out, if you're already doing it, or if you're dreaming about what your next move is and you want to do it with people who get it. We are your people.
Exactly. So yeah, this summit is for entrepreneurs who are figuring it out, who are doing it, and who want to do it. And for those who just need a reminder that they're not alone. Whether you're facing doubt, seeking community, or looking for fresh insight, you'll find your people here. And the Fierce Entrepreneur Summit is our way of sharing the real challenges and the real wins that come with those, so you can find the courage to keep going on your own entrepreneurial adventure.
Well, the best part to me, Jill, is you don't have to have it all together to be here. You just
Yes.
have to be open, be willing to listen or to learn or be honest about what's really going on in your business, because I guarantee you one of us have been through it also.
Definitely. And before we dive in, we'd like to introduce who you are going to be hearing from today.
I'm going to start with Jill. Jill is the famous Mama Outspoken, I'm just going to say. Then we'll introduce our other speakers, and Adam will bring everyone up on screen once we've done all the intros. So Jill is the founder of all things Mama Outspoken, books and all sorts of things, but it includes a village for moms to be seen, heard, and supported through postpartum and motherhood transitions. She's a published author, a podcast host, and summit leader. She transforms her story of postpartum struggle into spaces of honesty, healing, and hope for moms. Thank you for doing all you do, Jill.
Thank you, Kim, for that introduction. And we will have on stage with us Denise Millay. She is a search marketing specialist, author, community leader, podcaster, roving reporter, and our resident findability queen. She helps entrepreneurs get their hard-won content discovered in search so that when customers are looking, they can actually find you and hire you. Very excited to have Denise with us today.
Very.
Yes. We also have Kat Corchado. She is a proud Air Force veteran with 20 years of service, and she is the founder of Small Space Pilates, aka Fit for Life Alliance. It's an online community that helps midlife women get fit and feel fabulous from home. With 39 years of fitness, she is a certified trainer, Pilates instructor, and hosts the podcast Sisters in Service, amplifying military women's stories. Very excited to have Kat here too.
She's a powerhouse.
Definitely. We also have Adam Rothenberg. Adam, he turned his childhood dream of working in entertainment into reality by going behind the scenes with stars of film, TV, theater, and music. For 17 years, his platform, Call Me Adam, and his podcast, Bearing It All with Call Me Adam, have delivered 2,600 plus interviews and 3.5 million plus visitors. Now, he has got some big things happening, and very excited to have him on stage today. And we have Yvonne Marchese. She is the host of the Late Bloomer Living podcast, creator of the Age Agitators Club for Women, co-host of the Salty Sisters livestream with Kat Corchado, and a roving reporter for Good Morning Entrepreneurs as well. She's an author, a speaker, a photographer, and has a book called In Full Bloom, which has hit number 9 on the Amazon Midlife bestseller list. Very impressive.
Very.
And last but not least, we also have Donna Bender. She is a branding and marketing strategist, certified givologist, and the author of The Art of Givology, Giving Your Way to Success in Business. She's a creator and host of The Big Show and Tell, a monthly live stream on surprise and delight marketing that helps businesses deepen relationships and stay top of mind. So, what a crew. I'm so excited to be doing this quarterly summit yet again. So we're going to pause for just a second and say what an incredible lineup this is. I am so excited. Adam, Denise, Kat, thank you all for being here and for being willing to tell the truth about what's working and what's not.
I love it. Seriously, each of you brings such a different angle on visibility. And that's exactly what we wanted for this conversation. There's no one right way to do this, and you're about to hear that in real time. Now, you'll notice 2 of our speakers aren't on screen with us today. Yvonne Marchese is actually speaking on a big stage right now at a big event. So, hi, Yvonne, when you see the replay. And Donna Bender is spending time with family. So, we didn't want you to miss out on their wisdom, though. So, you'll hear Yvonne's voice throughout today and a few interview clips we've woven into the conversation. And we'll also be adding some Donna-isms, we'll call them. We'll add some of her things because we want you to have the benefit of them being part of this summit. So they're very much part of the Fierce Entrepreneur Summit, even if they're not here live with us.
Definitely. So whether you're podcast curious, live stream curious, or you've been running a show and wondering if it's actually working, you're in the right place. These folks here today, they have lived it too.
All right. Well, let's get this roundtable and party started. We're going to step back and let our leaders dive in.
Kat and Denise, I'm handing the mic over to you to kick off the pros and cons of podcasts, shows, and live streams for your business. Take it away.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Kim, for those introductions. When we talk about anything that we start and we continue to do, we sometimes forget about where we started. So I would like to ask the panel today is, what made you want to do a podcast, a live show? What was that thing? Was it a why? Was it I just want to try it? What was it that got you started?
Well,
I'll jump.
Go ahead, Adam.
Oh, no, go ahead, Denise. You first.
I was just going to say, I will jump right in because I am the other moderator here just to get us going. I was kind of voluntold by somebody I love that I had a good voice for podcasting, and I was resistant because I had tried a video show a long time ago. It was a very heavy lift to do scripting and assets and recording and all that editing. And this person helped me see a better way to do it that fit for me. And I think my people actually respond better to listening to my message. So that's how I started. Over to you, Adam.
I started my podcast because I sort of went in the reverse order. I expanded from my print interviews to video interviews, and then I lost my cameraman because he was starting to get so much more work that our schedules just didn't line up anymore. And I was looking for a way to still do in-person interviews, and that's how my podcast got started.
I started because I was voluntold to. I love when Kim has to giggle because we all say that when she asks us to start something because she knows it will work for us. And that's why I stuck with it. But I had an event coming up that was for podcasters, but I was going and I didn't have a podcast. So I needed to start if I wanted to be able to participate in it. And I did. And I kind of roped my husband into doing it with me so I wasn't alone because it was scary to start something that new. And it has only been positive and had so much success in trickling into other things for us, like a waterfall effect of creation of other things. So that's how I got started with podcasting.
Can I just add one more thing? I just have to say to Jill, I love that reasoning because that is like Dolly Parton when she got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She didn't feel like she could be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because she didn't have a rock album. And then she came out with a rock album. So you are
I love that.
Exactly. Each of you are following in each of your footsteps.
That's fantastic.
I love it. Well, I had a little bit different experience starting the first podcast because I was getting asked certain questions about what in the world does a sexy business mean? They were thinking it was something, illicit or something something taboo, we'll call it, but it's not. It's about, a business that you own and it doesn't own you. And I needed to explain that. Well, I explained it and explained it and explained it and realized I needed an FAQ. And I am not a writer. So one of my sweet friends at the time knew how to podcast, and she created a way for me to learn in one weekend how to get started on my FAQs verbally so that I would be able to answer those questions and point them to an episode. And it was wonderful because it worked. I will say that podcast, which is the My Sexy Business podcast, it has been, there's not been a new episode added for 3 years, and we still get dozens and dozens of hits or downloads on it because of the content. People want to know what it means and they'll go back and listen. So don't ever underestimate the power of doing something different.
I think it sounds like no matter what's your reason for doing it, just do it.
What is your reason, Kat?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to answer the question. I think mine may be a little different, and that's okay. I have two passions, and that is military veterans and fitness. And I remember my husband years ago saying, "You have a voice like that should be on the radio." And then you know how you hear your voice and you go, "Ew, no, I'm not doing that." But then my why, my passion took over my dislike for hearing my own voice, because I felt as though I had something to say, I had something to share, and I wanted to do that. And so that's why I started. Thank you, Denise.
Anytime, my co-leader. So let's go to our next question, and there's no right or wrong answer for this one. I'm just prefacing this. I want to ask, is one positive thing that you've experienced as a result of having your podcast?
I'll jump in and say one positive result is I feel like that I am reaching a different audience or a different segment of the population, because there are people that only listen to podcasts and they don't really watch video interviews. So I feel like I'm reaching a different segment that will find my interviews because they listen to podcasts and they don't watch videos.
All right. So I get excited about a very personal piece of positive things that have come out of my podcast. My podcast I do with my husband. So we get to have conversations about parenting and postpartum experience that we've had since having our son 5 years ago. And when we first started, we got to talk about all of the things we did not know about parenthood, which really helped us kind of parent better together and have better conversations. And now as we talk more about what my book has been about, we get even deeper into things that we didn't say out loud to each other. And now we're saying out loud to each other in this conversation on recording that allow us to be like, oh, okay, I didn't know you felt that way. Or I'm glad you said that because I had no idea that that was going on through your head at that time. And it's made for a much better experience in our relationship going forward since those conversations. So it's kind of very selfish in a way for me, that positive outcome for it. But on the flip side, if we didn't say these things out loud, who's going to, whoever's listening wouldn't have the opportunity to then hear these things and say, this is happening for us too in their parenthood journeys. So it's exciting for both fronts.
And I think also, Jill, is that for any of us, the information we're putting out there is helping someone who's listening. And we don't realize that sometimes.
Yeah.
And, we get caught up in, oh, I only got this many downloads and no one's listening. But I've always said that if this podcast helps one person, then I did my job.
Definitely agree with you on that, Kat.
Anyone else? We're kind of quiet here, y'all. This is not us. This is not us. So let's keep it moving.
I'm going to tell you one of the biggest pros for me, or one of the benefits for me, is it really helped me to get over myself. I was so worried about the judgment and about what people would say, because if you record something, y'all, it's out there. Like, it was that scary feeling of, oh my goodness, it's not just a private conversation. Now it's public. And fearing the haters and fearing the judgment and fearing what, those around me would say or challenge me even. felt very scary in the beginning. And it really did help me remember that I'm not here for the haters. I'm not here for those who are being ugly. I'm actually here for those who are like me and need that encouragement or need to know there's a better way. So when I really did, and it's like, buckle up, buttercup, because you have to you have to get over yourself for so many things business wise. This was just one way that I think it really solidified why I'm here. What I'm doing is important. The impact I'm making is significant. It's not, never should you let any other human being shut you down from their negative judgment, especially if they're not in the arena doing it. So I will say that is a huge thing for me.
Kim, that makes me it makes me think about like how I started, because I was nervous about especially doing it by yourself. So I give you guys who have podcasts on your own huge props, because it felt so weird. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk to myself and then imagine someone really wants to listen to me go on and on. So just about every single podcast that I am a co-host on, I have another co-host that I'm with. And that's what made it easier for me to start doing this, was that I had someone else to go off of, and I was comfortable that way, which then translated into doing video lives and things like that alone. So there's been some progress, but going by yourself for a podcast, that is so impressive in my mind, to just jump in and to do that on one's own. So love that for you, for everyone who does it on their own.
I didn't start off that way, Jill. There was no way I could sit here and just talk looking at myself. But now that I've gotten more comfortable having guests, that it's okay for me to sit, because yes, I'm talking, but it feels more comfortable, I guess, because I've transitioned somehow. So it's not as bad, but in the beginning it was super scary.
And it's funny you do mention that, Jill, because I always started my podcast with having guests. And over the past year or two, I've started to think about, well, could I put out a solo episode, and what would I talk about, and what would the structure of it be like? And I haven't gotten those answers yet, so I don't know, which is why I haven't done it. But it is something I start to think about, just to switch things up a little bit, and maybe there's something there with that. So it is interesting to hear you say that, because I've started to think about going in the opposite direction, not all the time, but here and there, a solo episode here and there.
Yeah,
I think.
feel like, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Denise.
I was just going to say, I think because Kim and I do my podcast together, and she is the mailbag keeper who helps pull the questions that I answer on my podcast, that has made it incredibly lighter for me to do. Just to know that there's a format and there's exchange back and forth, and I'm not just tripping over my own words. So I think that's been incredibly positive for me.
When I think about the pros of having my podcast, because when I got into this group, that's all I had was a podcast. But then I realized that now it's an extension of my business. I get a chance on my website to talk about my podcast. I get a chance to, put myself on social media, which I had no clue about on socials, getting my podcast out there. So I think it's an extension. And it's a nice way, instead of saying people listen to my podcast, it's out there in different platforms. And I think it helps not only my podcast, but my business too, because people start to learn a whole lot more about you.
That's a really great point, Kat. Like, to think of it just sitting out there by itself. How else is someone who wants to listen to you going to get to know you better? And so you're just kind of connecting all the dots for them of where we can be found. And I like how it's become a little village for Mama Outspoken with me. And it's like you get all these stops of places. And I love that for each of our businesses. You know, you end up on our website and then you can find where we're going from there. And it all kind of circles back from one to the other. So you can't really get lost. It's like a little circle there that you get to hang out in each of our own little communities from our website that deal with our podcast.
And I also find it interesting where our podcast, the far reach that the podcast has, because like we all have websites, which the internet is worldwide, and the podcast too, even though when I look at my analytics, predominantly most of the listeners are in the US, I do get a few listeners from other countries. And to me, that's just very exciting to see that my podcast has reached, I think I've seen England, and I've seen some other countries here and there. And it's just very exciting to think, oh my God, something I put out there is reaching somebody all the way on the other side of the world. And how great that maybe something I talked about with a guest, or any of us have talked about on our podcast, could reach someone so far away.
I totally agree with you, Adam. I had people, women veterans who were in Australia, and I did, a podcast episode of Sisters in Service Down Under. And it was just very cool to realize that even though they're in a different country, they still went through some of the same things that we did. So it's really cool. We talked about the pro. What about the con? What's the one thing, or maybe there's several things that makes it hard about podcasting, if anything?
Is there a limit to how many I can share? No, but oh my goodness. Cons, I think the biggest one that tripped me up was just not feeling prepared with the equipment that kept stopping me, as well as not knowing what my message was to talk about for a podcast. And then there's the whole idea of timing. When I have a toddler, when the heck am I going to sit down without a toddler interrupting me every 5 minutes? So those are my big three. But like jumping in and just getting a microphone to start, that was hard enough. And wanting to get more like fancy things kind of stops me from getting anywhere, and like having a little spot to do it. And like, let's just stop and do simple. Let's start with the first one. So that was the biggest con for me, was just always feeling like I needed to have stuff that I didn't really need to have.
So you were trying to get over the getting ready to get ready.
Yeah. Yep.
I think the timing is challenging, Jill, like you talk about, because for me, it's, do I have enough time? Because usually I'm interviewing somebody who has an event coming up, whether it's a play, a movie, TV show, album coming out. Do I have enough time to record the podcast, get it edited, and get all the promotion stuff out in time for the project? And that's something I have to take into consideration when somebody's asking to be on my podcast, because if I don't have enough time to do it, I don't really want to rush it. So I have to take that into consideration. And I would say the con, and I don't know if that's really a con, the timing of it, but Jill, you made me think of that as you were answering. But I think the con is the editing. It's not just for me, because I do edit my episodes. It's not just recording and I put the episode. You have to take the time to edit it, which usually could be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. So I have to build that time into whatever I'm committing to with the interview, and then all the promotion. So there's a lot of time that is not on the back end that I have to take to get a podcast episode out there, that somebody listening doesn't see how much time we invested before the episode got released. So that is something I think about. And maybe that is one reason why I don't consistently put out an episode a week. And that's why I try to tie it into, if I'm going to do a video interview with somebody, then I tie in releasing that video interview as a podcast episode instead of trying to put one out every week. Because to me, it's just too overwhelming for me at this point to be consistently putting one out every week.
I think it's interesting that you had said that, Adam, because in the very beginning, I took a course to do a podcast because, I'm a systems girl. I need to know what the system is. And the teacher said something in particular. He goes, I don't edit my podcasts because my podcast is a conversation. And when you're talking to someone, you don't say, oh, no, scratch that, or whatever. It's just a conversation. So I stopped editing. I'm like, this is what it is. It's a conversation. And so I don't even think about that anymore. Maybe I should, but I don't.
That's really interesting because I don't edit mine too much. I take out a few of the words that I'm embarrassed I still use, but I still, it's pretty much unedited. I have some tools that help me get those out. But I think the con for me has been consistency and how hard that is, like to do it well. Yeah, the expectation that it's every week. And as Adam said, he can't fit that. Mine is shorter. It's designed to be able to be done, but it still has a big blood time that it needs every week. And I'm not always doing what I need to do to batch them. So, I'm still trying to fit that in and figure out the scheduling and the consistency of it all. So that's been my hard thing. How about you, Kim?
My hardest thing has been putting processes in place. I think without a process, it is a messy endeavor, and it can become very hard when we think we have to have that one more thing. Jillo, I'm with you. We need one more thing and one more thing. But here's the reality of it. You can podcast on your phone without. You can do so many things. So take away that heavy part if you're thinking of podcasting. Take away the heavy bits and you'll be amazed at how much connection can be made. And Jill, I know you did an interview. We kind of alluded to this at the beginning. You did an interview with Yvonne Marchese, who is also a legendary podcaster who is speaking on a stage right now. And I think you have something to share that she told you.
Yes, we actually asked her this question when we got together. And I wanted to make sure we got to hear the hardest part of having a podcast from Yvonne.
Having a podcast is managing my bandwidth from week to week when I have photography jobs that are coming in that I need to set up, shoot, edit, and make sure that I'm taking care of my customers on that end and still get the podcast done and still have time for my family and my husband. It's a time management challenge, which is great for me because I have always struggled with that. As much of a problem as that's been, it's also been one of the best things for me because I've had to think about time in a whole new way. And I've had to become kinder to myself about the way I use time.
I have to add to this, Yvonne is a branding photographer that has been sought after across the whole US. She has a busy schedule. And when she makes time to do a podcast, I feel like that's evidence of that it's worth it because of all the conversations. Her podcast is binge worthy. We say this all the time. It is so good. It's late bloomer living, but she has done such a good job of opening up possibilities she didn't even realize when she started her podcast. So I just want to interject that real quick, Jill, before you, if you want to say anything else about what she had to say.
Now, I just loved how similar, Adam, you were feeling to Yvonne with that time management. Like, really, Adam, you have such a different race to be putting out your podcast episodes for, where it's very time sensitive to be able to help someone in their promotions. And then like taking that into consideration, a lot of us then are just really just racing with our own deadlines of when we wanted to put out a podcast episode. You know, we come up with a cadence of how frequently we're going to do that. But you've also, I think we've all kind of adjusted how our frequency is based off of what is happening in our lives. So yeah.
I totally agree with that, Jill. When I first started my podcast, I was twice a month because the whole week thing, I was like, oh no, once a week? No. I think one of the cons for me was I felt as though I had to have a guest every time. And sometimes that's not always possible. So I had to get very comfortable with being uncomfortable, being in front of a mic with just me and what I was going to say, and making it convincing enough to where I can end it and go, wow, that was pretty good. So I'm getting better at feeling more myself in front of a camera without having a guest there.
Well, and can I say, like, because we're talking cons here, like, as far as the pros are, it really does help your business if you use it the right way and it's for the right people. The con is if you put something out there that you hate every time you do it. I mean, I think this is part of it, that you are always uptight about it. Or if you get, maybe with even other podcasters who look down on you, that is a con as well, that they don't value what you're doing, the effort you're talking about, you know, all those things. And I think that those are some of the things that I just want to put out there. If you're thinking of starting a podcast, a show, or a live stream, we are not here today to say to you, you need to do this. We want you to know the reality of it can be hard. If you keep it simple, it's a whole lot easier. If you have a process, it's a whole lot easier. But it's also that building of a business. We've had several podcasters in our community that have done so well with their podcast and built such a big business that they've had to slow their cadence down of putting their podcast out because they have less time because it has been so effective. So I think that that's another con that could turn into, you know, a pro, as far as you may have to slow your roll. But the best part about a podcast, in my opinion, is that it lives on. It's out there for someone to discover. It's out there for someone to listen to, even when you're too busy to be able to do a podcast weekly, whatever the cadence is.
Mm-hmm. Kim, can I add on to that? I think one other con that I just thought about is when you're first starting, there's information being thrown at you about how to start a podcast, what to do, how to do it, all of these things. And I think that the one thing that I had to do was be true to myself. And I had to say, okay, this is how I want it to go. And you have to stick with that. Doesn't mean you don't have to change it later if as you've grown as a podcast host. But I think when you're first starting, there's so many things out there. Keep it as simple as possible and then elevate from there.
True wisdom right there, y'all.
I love that. I love
And
that.
can I just add one thing to what Kim was saying? I also feel like that everybody's cadence for how often they put out a podcast episode or a live stream or a show is going to be different based upon your business needs. Like for me, I feel like I can put one out whenever it works to combine it with the video interview that I have done. So I'm not on a schedule of I have to get it out every week or every month. I'm doing it as it comes up. But somebody else's business may warrant it to be put out every week or monthly or something. So I just want to sort of make sure everybody watching or listening to the summit knows that there's not one way to put your podcast out. It can be whatever works for your business or what you feel works for your business.
Yeah, nobody set the rules. Like, you set your own rules for your own podcast.
I love that. And everything's acceptable, almost, I think. I guess I want to throw one more question out there for everybody is, if you had to start today without anything, what would you do differently than what you did before? Ooh, look at everybody leaning back and smiling.
I'll jump in and say that I wish I knew more about microphones when I first started as much as I know now, because when I first started, I had one microphone that I plugged into my phone, and it would be me, my guest, and depending on how the microphone was pointed, depends on how clearly or not clearly you can hear the person talking. And when I go back and listen to my early episodes now, I cringe at the audio quality because it's not what it is today. And so I wish I knew to have two microphones from the start. And it wasn't until probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months into me podcasting that I finally got equipment that I could plug two microphones in. And then it was much better because I could hold one microphone, my guest could hold one microphone, and we both sounded great. So that is one thing I wish I knew, or one thing I wish I did differently, but I also wish I knew it. But like Denise, you always say, because you always quote Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. So
That's
I cannot be too hard on myself.
Thank you. I love that, Adam.
My thing that I would do differently if I were to start over would be an agenda. I had no idea the power of an agenda until the last year or so, and we've been really working on having agendas in some of the other places that we are. So like for Good Morning Entrepreneurs live stream, we have an amazing agenda right now, and it has really impacted how we use agendas other places, not just like my podcast, but also like if I go and record a video, whether it be for my roving reporter segment or just to put on my YouTube channel for a minute, like I still have an agenda. And I would wish I would have done that when I first started our first 12 episodes of the podcast. My husband and I had an idea of what to talk about and kind of like knew we'd talk about at least this topic, but actually like being able to put down questions we wanted to address and relatable things that had been an experience. I wish I had something a lot more structured. And it doesn't even have to be that hard starting out, just like bullet points of what I want to cover each episode. So that's what I would do differently if I were to start over again.
I would love to add to that an agenda is just directions to you. So don't be intimidated by, oh my goodness, now I have to learn how to do an agenda before I can start. An agenda is simple instructions to yourself so that you can get through a episode or a show or a live stream. And I think that is a beautiful thing. I think being impromptu, knowing what you're going to talk about with a bullet point. Like if you're a talker, having something that you're talking on is really powerful. Having the ability to, if you're a reader, that kind of lends itself to being a blogger more. But you can do both. You can take the same topic and, just as a pro again, we have someone who writes our blogs from all of our podcast episodes. So it's our voice, it's our words, it's all that. But you have to look at you and figure out whether you're a reader or a talker, whether being on camera is too much, which that's fine. Start smaller. But the agenda part is magical when you are giving yourself instructions so that you can like stay on topic. I will tell you, when I started, there were times that I would veer off. Don't put me on long form like podcast things back in the beginning, because I would veer off the topic. I am an entrepreneur. I think entrepreneurs have more ideas than they can possibly ever implement. So that's another piece of the puzzle of whether this will work for you or not, is do the easy stuff like Kat said first. Do a simple agenda like Jill said. Like, find a time in your calendar that you can commit to a small time, and don't get overwhelmed with what whoever they are, say you should do for your podcast. Do what you can do, because it does benefit your business if you're doing it for the right reason to the right people.
Can I just say that the one thing that I would do over is I actually launched with, wait for it, one episode. And I was told, oh, your podcast isn't going to go anywhere and blah, blah, blah. You only launch with one. Yeah, I did it my way and I'm still doing it. So if I had done it that way, would it have changed anything? I don't know. But I wanted to at least see what it would have been like to launch with 3 episodes, because then I'm hyperventilating because now I got to get another episode out. So I think that's what I would have done differently.
And Kat, could I just say, I don't feel like everybody can launch with multiple episodes. I mean, like, I have to wait, because right now my podcast is guest focused. I have to wait till I have the guest, and I may not know who my guest is going to be until I get the press release about their project. So everybody also launches differently. And maybe for your business, launching with 1 episode was the way to do it. For somebody else, it makes sense to launch with multiple episodes.
And I understand that, Adam, which makes perfect sense. But when I started my podcast, everyone was like, you have to have 3 or 4 episodes. And I was so excited about my 1 episode. I was like, yay, me. And I was like, oh crap, now I got to do another one.
I love that, because I've started both ways, with a couple in the bank ready to go out, and just also a few weeks in between, because I didn't realize I needed to get one out real fast. But also this question, I think Yvonne had a great answer to. And again, Yvonne is one of the speakers that would be here today, but she is speaking on another stage. She is doing some amazing things for her business too. But she answered the question about what would she be doing differently if she had started over. And I wanted to make sure we got to hear her answer, because it's really good.
If there's anything I would have done differently, because you don't know what you don't know when you're starting. And I did as much research as I could, and then I had to cut myself off. It was like, okay, enough with the research. It's time to get moving. And then I did, and I just have been learning as I go. I think I started before I was ready. And I would say to anybody else who's starting a podcast, start before you're ready and get it moving. Our friend Kim likes to say you can't steer a parked car, and that is 100% true. So yeah, I don't know that there's anything different I would have done in the beginning.
She's so amazing. I agree with her that I don't know if there's anything I would have done differently, because it was so custom tailored to what I already had experienced before my video project, and somebody helped me. What I would say is I would have started sooner, and I would have committed to what my season schedules were to help set me up better in my calendar. Probably those are the 2 things I would have done.
And I think when Yvonne was talking about, she did so much research. I think sometimes you do so much research that it gets in the way. And sometimes it's just easier to just do it. And then what do you call that? What's that word, Kim, when you elevate it? What's the word you use? You zhuzh it up as you go along. I don't know if zhuzh is a word, but it is now. I just think that a lot of people just the right, like Adam was talking about, oh, I have to have the right mic. I can't have this mic. I have to have this. I have to this. And they go through this laundry list and they get all this stuff and they're like, I'm too tired to do a podcast now.
Start simple and up level as you go along. There you go.
So I just think that this conversation is so, there's my word. I can't think of a word now. It's amazing because I think we forget where we came from with our podcasting. We're just thinking about, oh, I got to do this. But when you think about the journey of it, we all have to pat ourselves on the back for going through it and doing it scared. And I think that's how we all start. Well, maybe not Kim, but that's how we all started, was scared. And thinking about where we are now, or maybe where we're going to be in a year or 2 years, or whatever that time frame is, and to look back and say, you know what, I did this. It's out there. Your podcast is out there, and it's, people are listening to it. I don't care if it's a year old, 2 years old, or would you say Kim, you haven't done one in 3 years and people are still listening to it. So I think right now I'm going to hand the mic back to Kim White and Jill Olish. And I think we're going to go into our halftime show.
Thank you so much, Kat. And thank you, Denise and Adam. Thank you for all of our speakers for being so real about what is working and what's not. That was a really good look behind our podcasting curtain.
It was. And, Dillo, I want to just make a comment really quick about the whole podcasting thing. I started in 2018 and actually podcast then. It took me till 2020, 21, I think it was 2021, to actually acknowledge I was a podcaster.
I remember that.
I don't know what I thought I was before that, but there's this fear of you're not a real podcaster. You're not a real boy, Pinocchio. You're not a real business owner. You're not a real podcaster. And I think that's an important thing to point out if you're even tossing the idea around. You are a real podcaster. You're a podcast guest if you've been on. So I think all of that is very important.
I think so too. Well, I think we're going to let Denise, Kat, and Adam come off the stage now so they can go take their break, and we'll get into a little bit of conversation about what we just talked about. If you have just tuned in, we are going to just do a little recap of what we heard from the first half of our show Summit. And if you have the chance to go back and listen to the beginning, some really great things happened. And then we'll play our halftime show video that we have. So that's queued up for just a few minutes. And then we'll bring everyone back on stage to finish the rest of our time together. So yeah, Kim, great conversation. I think there were a lot of really good things for people who are interested in doing a podcast, a show, or a live stream that they can take away from and to just be warned about too.
I think the warnings are important because, we have the fears ourselves, but sometimes we need those things that make sense. I'm just going to say that. And I think everybody brought to the table today different things that make sense for their business.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a podcast and you need to pivot even, don't be afraid to pivot by topic or by why, because here's the end of the day. We're talking business, because we are business owners, and we don't need one more thing to do just to be doing it. We need things that are effective. Podcasting, live streams, and shows can be very effective for marketing. They can let someone get to know you. They can let someone see what you're about. They can check your flavor and see if they like your flavor of how you do things. So I think those are really important things as entrepreneurs listening to this or live or to the replay, that you think about why you would and what would you bring topic wise, so that it doesn't turn into this, oh my goodness, it's time to do a podcast and I have no idea what to say.
Right. And Kim, you set me up with this information, which I think is helpful, was that a podcast is a freebie when you set it up as a free offering, not behind a paywall, but it's also a way for someone to get to trust you and know you before they do give you their money for some other service or product you might have, which helped me understand the point of having a podcast and not the pressure of having to be like everyone else who is saying, oh, you must have a podcast. It may not be for everyone. We also talked about Donna Bender, who is another one of our speakers that couldn't be here today. She doesn't have a podcast, but she has a live stream, which in the same kind of way, she is putting herself out there. It is a free giveaway for someone to come and attend to get to know her before choosing her as a solution for a problem they have. So you don't have to choose podcasting in order to have something for someone to start getting to know and trust you.
I think you bring up another point with the show part of this too, Jill, is that Donna herself gives away a lot of strategy for what she does, which is branded merch, branded products, like gifts, giveaways, all that kind of thing, corporate gifting things. If you think about it, she's very fun. We definitely know that. She'll dress up in costumes to get her point across. But she's really giving a freebie by giving all the strategy she gives. Yeah. Our podcast, Buckets and Boom Gates, we give away a lot of strategy for business because we know how hard it can be. Podcasts do different things, but knowing what you're giving away in that freebie, understanding how, even in the show notes, adding a link to connect with the community or with a discovery call, whatever fits your business, is very important to know that on the podcast, or the podcatchers, when somebody puts a new podcast out, there's actually something, if someone's following the show, it goes right into the notification for that person of, hey, here's a new episode. Where else can you get that kind of marketing? I mean, think about that as an easy source for getting into someone who is a listener, who's a podcast listener. And I like what Adam said earlier about, it's another way. It's another way to get the word out there. It doesn't have to be instead of, it's just another way to be in someone's ear, like literally for a podcast, or their view from, live streams or shows.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to reach people. It's worldwide stuff now. It's pretty incredible.
It's also long lasting. Yeah. I think this is the other part that everybody kind of misses whenever they get nervous about a podcast, is if you want something to stay out there, you can put things out on the socials, but it gets buried. It gets buried with everybody's. And for me, the notification part of a podcast, if somebody's following your show, they are literally getting the easy button to say, oh yeah, I want to listen to that episode. So it is something that lasts, even like our My Sexy Business podcast that hasn't had a new episode in 3 years, still gets downloads all the time because of the content we put out there. And all of those episodes are like less than 3 minutes. Some of them are 5. All of them are very, very short.
Yeah.
So you can't just say when you're doing a podcast, it has to be an hour and a half long. It has to be, think about the value you can give to someone in a quick second, even if that's what your people need. And that's what ours did need, and apparently still need, because we still have numbers. So that's amazing to me.
Yeah. There's no rules. I love that part. We all come in, I feel like we're very afraid because we hear all these things about what other podcasters are doing, and that there's like kind of rules that like you should be doing this, or this is how it's working for me. But there really is no set of rules to follow when you're starting. Just start. I love that when Yvonne said that from
Exactly. And stay off the shouldies.
Yeah.
Like, stay off the shitty list, because here's the bottom line is if you are going through and you're saying, you can't do something because you should have this done, or you should take that out of your vocabulary and see what happens, because getting moving, you can paralyze yourself with all the things you think you need before you get started. And I want to mention something else we haven't mentioned yet, but this is another part of having a podcast that is, maybe you've podcast before and you didn't know how to do the things around it, so it became overwhelming and maybe you stopped. There's a huge stat, I wish I had the number, but I don't, of how many people stop before they get 10 episodes out. We don't want you to put in the effort to start something and then not really continue. But if you have done that, don't take that as it's over kind of attitude. It's, what can you do to relaunch it even? Can you republish it and relaunch all the episodes? Because that's another way to get started, is make a party out of it. Make it something that, look, I did this thing and now I need to, I'm bringing it back, bringing sexy back. So think of it that way too.
Yeah. I paused. I pushed pause for 3 years, I think, between my first season and my second season. So it's doable to come back with a whole big better plan than when we first start out.
Yeah. We have hundreds and hundreds of episodes, shows, and live streams under our belt on this stage.
Yes.
We have hundreds. So when you think about something that is sustainable or something you want to do for your business that does continue your marketing, does do it in a different way, I think this is a great way to think about it. I also know how hard it is to do, so I want to keep saying that, because I love that we heard everything from this is amazing for connections to this part is heavier than it looks, and boy, did I not know.
Yeah.
So that's exactly why we are doing this theme for the summit, is we want you to know the real story.
Yeah. So if you are watching and thinking, okay, but how do I actually make this sustainable in my world? The next half's going to be for you. So we're going to get there. Stick with us.
And our halftime segment is sponsored by Fire Up Mastermind and the My Sexy Business production team. You're about to see a short video that pulls back the curtain on how we think about visibility, support, and building something that doesn't burn you out. And it's important to know this little halftime show is in honor of the speakers. It is, but think about if you were on those pieces and you were in the video. That's what I want to make sure everybody's understanding. Think about you being on this stage with us. Think about you sharing your story. How would that impact your business?
All right, so take a breath, grab some water, stay right here though, and enjoy our halftime feature from the Fire Up Mastermind and the My Sexy Business production team. Welcome back. I hope that gave you a moment to reset and also think about what support and strategy could look like for your visibility.
Now we're heading into part 2, where we're going to keep this conversation going honest and behind the scenes and help you get even clearer on which path makes sense for you. No pressure from any of us to do anything except you. First, I want to reintroduce my co-MC for this session, and that is Jill Olish. She's the ambassador of moms and the founder and leader of the Mama Outspoken Village.
Thank you, Kim. And Kim White, this is our fierce leader, a founder of the My Sexy Business team and community. Kim, can you introduce our roundtable speakers for part 2?
Absolutely. We have an incredible group with us, and I'm very honored to have this position at this moment because Denise is our findability queen and host of the SEO Day podcast. Kat is a movement specialist, creator of the Fit for Life Alliance community, and our resident military veteran. Adam is the interview king and the creator of the entertainment platform called Call Me Adam. And even though, sorry, I'm going to keep introducing people.
Well, even though these two couldn't be here with us live today, we have 2 other powerhouses as part of the summit lineup. And that is Donna Bender. She is a branding and marketing strategist and certified giftologist known for her surprise and delight marketing, as well as Yvonne Marchese, who is the age agitator, host of the Late Bloomer Living and founder of the Age Agitators Club.
Well, as you can hear, I got excited and was going to introduce everybody. There's a lot of experience and a lot of perspective on this virtual stage. So I can't wait to get this conversation back.
Seriously, we're going to go ahead and get out of the way and let this crew dig in. Kat and Denise, we're going to hand the mics back to you to lead us in part 2 of this wonderful summit.
All right, part 2. Are we ready? So here's a question. We all chose podcasting as opposed to a live stream or a show. Why was being audio? Why is it being audio? Why was that a better fit for your personality as opposed to being on screen or doing a live?
Can I go first? I have to laugh and say, I think audio was easier because, like Jill said earlier, you're behind the screen. You're not on the screen. And when you're on the screen, there's more pressure. I will laugh and say I was speaking on stages and doing all kinds of things in person, but there was something so intimidating when it came to putting something out there that was permanent in public. So I think audio is easier for our fears to overcome them and to practice what we're saying. So that mine was about my fears.
Go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to jump in and say, for me, podcasting was a means for me to continue my in-person interviews because unfortunately I had the cameraman that I was using for all my video interviews, he was getting a lot more work and our schedules didn't align anymore. So I had to find a way to continue my in-person interviews. And for me, podcasting was an easy solution that I could do the interview myself. I didn't need to hire a camera person to record the interview. And then at that time, because I wasn't a great editor, I knew I just could afford to hire somebody to help me edit my episodes. Now, all these years later, I have more editing experience, so I can do the editing myself, which is great. So I became a podcaster as a means to continue my in-person interviews.
Jill, Kat?
Podcasting was I mean, other than it being something that was pretty much like a necessity for me to go ahead and do as the next piece of my business for being a participant of an event, it was also the easier route in exactly what you were saying, Kim. Like, it was less pressure to show up camera ready and polished and however else felt like I needed to be. Although I didn't worry about that after a little while, because I did record myself on camera for my podcast. So I was practicing already, getting ready for being on camera, which turns out I actually really enjoy being on camera more than I enjoy being on audio only. And that's kind of shifted how I actually view like what I would like to do in the future. I still want to be on the podcast, but I also like the whole live stream piece. Like, I love being here on a summit and being able to be on camera with you all. And like, even if it were by myself, I'd probably still be a little scary, but I'll do it. Like, I don't know. It's weird how it transforms in ourselves as we practice on camera. So I think it was just the easier aspect to get, just knowing that audio was the only thing going out as you're starting out versus you as what someone can see and approach differently.
I agree with you, Jill. I thought that too. Like, I thought about when you're on camera, it's like, the news where everyone's polished and, they have the perfect hair and the perfect clothes and they say the right things. And it seemed like learning another platform was just, I can't. It just seems like a lot. And also the fact that, I love to talk, but it seems like it's very, like it had to be very like in this box and it couldn't be me. But once you'd say, Kat, just be you. Hello, let's do this. Because I think in audio, and we've all had guests who are like, oh, I'm kind of scared to be on the podcast. And I'll tell them straight up, this isn't 60 minutes. It's you and I having a conversation that happens to just be recorded. And once I tell them that, they relax. Once I was given that permission, I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. So I agree with you, Jill, but I also, like you, prefer to be on camera now. That's so weird.
It's so funny because you fought it for so long, Kat.
She did, didn't she? Kicking and screaming, as we say. I think for me, I tried the video thing, and my voice can be very even. It doesn't, and calm. It doesn't have a lot of intonation unless I put it there or unless I'm super excited about something. When I'm focusing on the message, it's very hard to do that on your own. I feel like audio is a much better presentation of my thoughts for people than it is in video, because I'm just not that exciting on video, unless I've got people around me making me exciting, But I also think that audio for me gave me a way to convey information that needs to be thought about. Yes, I put clips out for social media so people can see what we're talking about, but to listen to the whole podcast, these are questions that people have asked me about a techie topic that needs a clear and simple answer, and they need to be able to take it in and digest it. And I think audio helps me do that more than video does. So that's just me. So anybody else have any other comments?
Jill, go ahead.
No, you go first, Adam. I can wait.
I was just going to say, I also don't necessarily know that audio only is right for everybody. I think you have to look at your business too to see what works. And I'm just going to give my opinion here, and Kim, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I do feel like for somebody like Donna, who hosts her big show and tell every month, I couldn't imagine her doing that as an audio only podcast because she has first of all, she dresses up in so many different costumes to make the information she's giving, to make it fun. And the information is so impactful. She is a very visual person that allows you to digest the information in a fun way. So I feel like her show needs to be a show in video format, because you need to see all the visuals she has, from the clips, from the products that she shows, all the promotional products, so you can see what works for your business in trying to build relationships with your clients and customers. So I think you have to look at your business to see what works, to also decide whether you go the audio route or the visual route, or you have some combination.
Yeah.
Well said, Adam. Very well said.
And between you and Adam and Denise, with what you guys have put in, I think back to what you said, Kim, about being on stages. And if we're presenting ourselves on a stage, this is the different kind of stage that we're on, where we're not literally in front of people at that moment until it's published, whether it be live or scheduled at a later time. And it kind of gives you this ability to, like you said, Denise, be able to deliver your message in a little bit of a more controlled way. Because I know when I step on a stage, I am nervous as all get out. Like, my face turns bright red. I can't control the sweat. Like, it's just, where are my words? They've just disappeared. Meanwhile, then you get me on a podcast now, even if it's recorded or not, I have so much more control over what I am going to say, because there's just that different level. Put me in front of a live stream now, I have so much more practice at it that I'm like, okay, I'll prefer a live stream over getting in front of people in person to speak on a stage. Although that might be a goal for me one day. This is the greatest practice. So I love that there's a way to practice in different formats for each of us for what we have to present, because we're presenting different things. Like, I can just see Donna coming up on a stage in front of humans, trying to show a bag full of a whole bunch of different products. And then also I can see Denise, now you also trying to show what to do on a screen, and how the other options that we've all chosen are such great fits for us as our stages. I don't know. That's where my mind's going with that one.
Can I piggyback on something Adam had said? And I totally agree with you, Adam. Sometimes when you listen to podcasts and you hear, you're listening, the voice is very familiar. You're like, oh, you start to maybe trust this person, that they're really doing and saying whatever it is the podcast is about. But I think sometimes when you go to video, it reinforces that trust, because then they say, oh, she's just like she is on the podcast. When they see how goofy I am, I'm goofy on a podcast too. And they're like, oh, she's goofy. I like her. She's my people. I just wanted to say that.
You are my people, Kat. I just have to say, I love how fun you are.
I think she's amazing, and she gets total red light syndrome when it goes on, and she just turns into this machine of podcasting wonder and video wonder. Anyway, I think the next place I want to take us is, we have a personal experience with the show or the podcast we've chosen to do. So we've committed to it. We've taken it in. We've put it into our essence and our being that we are a podcaster. Has there ever been a moment where you've just kind of said, oh, is this really worth it? And, what am I doing? And then what did you do when you hit that wall?
Oh, pick me.
Picking you.
I think the one thing that I didn't do was take a break. So I was going every week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year without a break. And I started to burn out. And someone said, well, are you taking a break? And I was like, oh, I take a few weeks. And they said, I take 6 weeks off of my podcast. And I was like, oh, What? So guess who takes 6 weeks off every year? And I think it just reinforces, because when I'm not podcasting, I get all these ideas of things that I want to do and I write them down, or people I want to interview. And it's not that I'm doing nothing with the podcast. I'm actually planning for certain things, but I don't have to be in front of the camera and or the audio or whatever, because I have some favorite episodes that are going for those 6 weeks. And so it reinforces my why to where I started. When you don't take that break, you get burned out. You say, I'm quitting. And then you quit. And then you take a break and realize, why did I quit? I think you just needed a break. So I think that's been the best thing that I've done. Was I was about to burn out, and taking 6 weeks, which this will be the 3rd year in a row I've done this, has helped me tremendously.
When you're doing things like that, Kat, that you're preventing the burnout, I actually think that's why a lot of podcasters stop, is they forget their why, and then they are overwhelmed with, you know, and here's the real truth about the podcasting, the shows, and the live streams. If they're doing well, you're going to get busier. You're going to have more work because your business is doing better. So sometimes it is actually a sign of the slowdown part. I podcast every week, and now I've got this thriving business. Maybe I need to go to every other, maybe I need to go to monthly, just so I keep that audience, and just so I keep connecting with those people. But also give yourself a break. If you're a business owner, you're in business to do business, not just all the, exterior things. So I think having a break is important. Understanding the seasons, understanding the, people are not going to just leave as long as you let them know. Don't just abandon them, ghost them, but let them know, hey, look, life is such that I'm going to go to this new cadence because I don't want to leave you behind. I just have to adjust because of I've got more business than I can handle right now, or I've got more life going on than I can handle right now.
And I think also too, Kim, when we get to that point of exhaustion or just being tired, and if you have a 1-hour podcast and you think, I have to do a whole 1 hour, no, you don't. When I first started, I thought that, and someone said the podcast episode lasts as long as the conversation. It might be an hour, it might be 40 minutes, might be 20 minutes. And so I've stuck to that, and I think that helps a lot too.
I think I have thought about quitting at least once a year. I get to a point, throughout the year where I'm just like, and I don't know what it is that it always makes me feel like, okay, is this when I'm going to stop? Is this it? But then I think, one, what would I do with my time? I mean, I guess there's so many TV shows I could binge watch, but what would I do with my time? And I still feel like, and usually when I get to the point of, okay, I'm gonna wrap things up, somebody comes along that I have been longing to interview so badly. And then I'm like, this is why I keep going, because I still have so many people that I want to talk to. And I don't want to stop until I talk to everybody that I have dreamed of speaking to. So that's why I keep going. And I also know there's a lot of people that enjoy my interviews, and I know one of them is here today. Tina has been watching the summit, and she is one of my biggest fans, and she loves my interviews so much. So that also keeps me going. The excitement that I get from whenever she comments on one of my interviews, or how much she loved it, or she sends me a message letting me know, that also keeps me going. So Tina, I need to thank you for helping keep me moving forward in this journey when I get to a point where I want to stop. So thank you very much.
Hi, Tina.
How about you, Jill?
We're talking like impact, right? Like what's this doing for us?
Well, have you ever hit that wall? Is the podcast really worth it? And what did you
Okay.
do? Like,
Yeah.
how did that affect you?
Really, I feel so the conversations my husband and I have helped in healing for me in things that I went through, which is what the podcast is based off of in my postpartum journey. That without it, I don't think we would be in the place of recovery. We're going to call it recovery right now, to be able to move forward and to do the things that I said I wasn't going to do before I started the podcast. So there is this huge part of my why that is just always present. And we might skip a lot of weeks when it comes to like, we just rather spend time outside or adventuring with our family than sit down and record a 20-minute podcast, or my husband has a lot of work to do. So there's really no way to wrangle him, like to herd him in to come do this. But then we get back to it and it's just like, this is why we're doing this, because we needed to have this conversation. Someone else is going to need to hear this. And we actually enjoy it by the time we're done with it. So it's just this continual like why and why we did it to begin with, why we chose to do it together, even though he was more than voluntold on participating. He was, I think, forced.
I love that. He's been forced, feet to the fire. It's this or that, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, Jill, I don't really have a hit the wall, is it really worth it kind of story. I have a situation that taught me something, and the impact it gave me is just amazing. So I tend to be, I got to describe the whole kitchen sink to people, and I got to go and do everything, not necessarily the hard way, but a very detailed way. And I have my things. And I hit a wall at one point where some things weren't working online, and I was coming up on a deadline, and I was like, I can't get it to come out of I can't get these things produced. I can't get the pieces ready. And it was super stressful. And the light bulb went off and said, well, you don't have to be perfect. And I know you guys have all said that, but this is what pushed me to do that, was to say, yeah, it's okay if I put audio out that's got a few ums and likes and, whatever in it, because that's who I am, and that's okay. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And so I think that impact from hitting that wall was incredibly helpful for me.
I feel like we've all learned that piece, Denise, and that we don't have to be perfect. I mean, we're all putting out very lightly edited podcast episodes, if edited at all. And we've all changed our frequency of posting and scheduling them to go out. And we've just had these allowances that we've allowed ourselves to go with the flow instead of feeling like we have to have so much pressure on us. So, yeah. And I know our friend Yvonne, who can't be here today because she is on stage somewhere else talking without all of us instead of joining us. She answered this similar question here and had a great response that we wanted to make sure we could include into this arrangement of answers.
Affected me is exponential. I can't even really probably wrap my head around how it's affected my life. I know everybody involved in this summit because I have a podcast. I have met some amazing people as guests, and some of them have become really good friends. I feel like I'm constantly surrounding myself with examples of what's possible, and that changes everything. My business when I started the podcast was photography, and the podcast is not at all about photography. What it did change was my ideas about what I might be able to do as a business around the podcast. So I ended up hosting a summit at one point, which led to thinking, oh, this would be a good community. And so I have a community now. I ended up writing a book, which is back there with my photos. So that was like the first time I ever thought about combining my photography with what I'm doing on Late Bloomer Living. And I mean, what it's done is open up the question, what's next? And I don't really know the answer to that. And that's cool.
I think she's right, though. When you start a podcast, it starts opening up your mind to other things. I wasn't open to being in business. Kim knows. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. But then you start to formulate these ideas of what it looks like. And when someone say, well, what about this? And you're like, oh, I never thought about it like that. And that's what Kim did for me. And then there's a business, and then there's this, and then there's live stream, and then there's all the things. And then you think back, this all started because of one little podcast that you were afraid to go out and do. And now you're doing it, and look what's happened.
I think about what you just said now makes me think about when you put your first episode out and you were so excited to have that one episode out and you had all these people saying, oh, you have to drop it for. I mean, I hope those people can see you now and how you're a rock star podcaster and you are putting out episodes every single week. And I'm glad they didn't deter you from continuing with your podcast, because if somebody else heard that, they might have been like, oh my God, I started this wrong and now I can't continue. So I commend you for that you kept it moving.
Well, thank you, Adam. When you first learn anything, it feels heavy. You put a lot of work into it. You do a lot. And I wasn't going to quit just because a couple of people said you did it wrong and it's not going to be successful. And so I kept going, and I'm glad that I did. So if anyone else, you messed up on your first one, live and learn, do another one, and then get better and get better and get better.
That's what legends do, just saying.
Icons, you mean? Icons?
Icons, legends, in the podcasting world, this is what you have to understand. Like, reality is Kat is a legendary podcaster because she's lasted this long. So many people stop, or so many people, give up. And I'm going to say that they give up on because they don't understand the connection for their business. And Kat has not. Kat's been invited all across the country to speak on stages from her podcast starting. Like, there are things that happen when you have a show or a live stream or a podcast that you're not expecting when you start. Jill's spoken all over the place, been featured in like a magazine, like all kinds of things because of showing up. And I think that's what a live stream, a show, or a podcast is. It's you showing up in a way that whoever wants to connect with you is able to, I'll say, digest your message or learn about you. Or, we're not out to be celebrities. That's one thing I want to make very clear. It's not, maybe Adam already is a celebrity, but the rest of us are, just common everyday people is what I'm going to say. And I think that's the attraction. I think honestly, that's the attraction. If you're confessing, you and Bobby are confessing, Jill, to things that are real, that lets somebody in and say, I feel that way too. I would never say it out loud. It's very, very important. And that's one of the reasons Yvonne is not here today. Like Jill said earlier, Yvonne's speaking on a stage right now because of her podcast. She would never have connected if it wasn't for that. So I think those are really important things. I also would like to, if you guys are okay with it, I'd like to cue up Yvonne's last clip, because the benefits of podcasting shows or live streams. I don't want to miss this part for your business. And she had a huge moment of she didn't even understand how that would be connected. And she tells it's just a quick thing, but would that be okay with y'all if we throw that in there real quick?
Woman come to me to get her headshots done because she'd been listening to the podcast. And I don't necessarily promote my photography business on my podcast, but she's local. She was listening and she decided to take a bet on herself and start a new business, and she needed headshots. So that for me was like a major aha, this is working.
So that's a great question to ask our panel is, how do you know if and when your podcast is working rather than just putting out podcasts, putting out episodes on that hamster wheel?
I'll go last because I have a list.
It's a juicy question, isn't it?
It is a juicy question.
Thank you.
I love that question. I'm so glad she got to answer that one because it helps me think about the time that I was found online. And Denise, this is probably also thanks to being findable online from you or help. But I had someone reach out who had produced a movie for based on postpartum mental health awareness. And I came up in a search online, my podcast. And I had no idea that is how I would be able to be found. And he messaged me, and it was way different than, those kind of spammy messages that you get requesting podcastings, interviews and whatnot. And I was like, okay, this is a real person wanting to talk about real things. And okay, let's go. So the fact that I was able to first be found online about this was the trigger of this is working. Like, there are people actually looking for this. So that's my piece.
I think the first time I realized my podcast was working was probably the first time that I got a request for someone to be a guest on my podcast. I realized that somebody was listening and that they heard it. So that's how I knew that it was happening. And now I've had more people say, "Oh, I heard so-and-so on your podcast." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so exciting." Because like Kat, you were saying, you're so busy behind the scenes, putting the episode together, recording it, editing it, if you edit it, all the promotion for it, that you don't necessarily get to take the time to stop and say, "Oh, did somebody listen to it?" Because you're on right after one episode is done. Sometimes you're on to the next. I mean, I know that's how it is for my interviews. It's like I get one done and I'm already on to the next one. And I don't always get the time to stop to be like, "Oh my God, look, people are noticing what you're putting out there." So I have to remind myself to do that. And one way I will say that I do that is if I get a comment, I always take the time to stop and reply to that person and, make sure I interact with their comments. Sometimes it may be a week or 2 or 3 later, but I always make sure I reply.
Love that, Adam. Go ahead, Kat. What's your answer?
Now, I was just going to say, I think when I knew my podcast was getting out there, so to speak, was when I had gone to another state. I was attending something for women veterans, and someone said, "Oh, you do Sisters in Service, right?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, I do." So that's one way. The other way is, and I don't do this often, but I looked at analytics for my podcast and realized I was in all these different countries. And I was like, people are listening. And it's very heartwarming. You feel like, okay, I'm doing this work, people are listening. And but I've always said, even from the very beginning, that if I get one download and it helps that person, I did my job. I did exactly what I needed to do. So thanks, Denise.
You're welcome. I think what works for me is I'm new to a lot of this, but when I see this older episodes still getting downloads and listens, to me that says that somebody saw something somewhere and wanted to find out more. And so those connections are happening, and that's really all I want to know is that people are listening and getting something from it. Kim.
Well, here's my list of ways you can know your podcast show or live stream are like making traction, you're getting traction, you're moving the needle. You can have someone offer to sponsor that you didn't ask. Like, you can ask people, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying they'll message you that they want part of that podcast. We've had people want to buy a podcast that we have. We've had people, say that's where they came from. They've joined whatever it is we're doing, and they said that that's where it came from. So I think those are quick ways. But if you're getting traction from your business and your marketing that you're doing, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, these are either passion projects or they're for marketing reasons. If you're doing them for those reasons and people are connecting with you, you will see a few numbers, you will see a few things. Don't be discouraged if they're low, because honestly, if you got 1 million downloads, could you really serve 1 million people if they joined your business today? Probably not. But those are some of the ways to tell. And a lot of times people will listen to the podcast to make sure you're really who they think you are. So they want to sign up to do business with you, but that's where they're going to find out if you're really the real deal. So being on video can be hard, being on audio can be hard, but it's worth it. It's worth it if it suits your business and you're talking to the right people. Don't do it because someone else is doing it, but if you have a plan, get moving on it, like Kat would say. Don't, and Yvonne said it earlier, don't just think about it and think you can't do it. You can record literally on your phone, start there, and then up level as you go along, if you even need to up level. People want real. If you're being real, they want more.
Wow, mic drop, of course.
Yeah,
As
seriously.
always.
So, I know we're getting to the end of our day here today, and I just want to challenge everybody real quick to go around in final thoughts and give one thing that anybody listening could be their next step to take to get closer to having a podcast, live stream, or show. And I'll start with saying, get your calendar out and pick a day and just do it.
And I think you could probably rope in a friend to help you too.
I would say keep learning. Even when you think you're already there, keep learning. And if you're new and people are talking about either equipment or whatever, maybe you're not ready for it right then, write it down because you're going to get there. And then you can go back to those notes and say, yay, yes, or no, I decided I don't want that. But you're going to get there. But you just have to be patient.
And I'll say I agree with Denise's, just start and figure out what works for you and your business. And it's great to see what your friends and colleagues are doing. And maybe you take a little bit from what each of them are doing that might help you. But you have to really think about what works for you and your business, because what works for you might not work for somebody else, or what works for somebody else might not work for you. So just get started and like Kat said, keep going as you grow.
I'm going to say all of the above. I think all of you gave great answers. And I think the intimidation factor, get over yourself and put your message out there because it matters. If you're trying to make an impact, it matters. If you're trying to build a business, it matters. So for your sake, You will learn your message more. You will learn how to say what you want to say better. If you're practicing somewhere, why not do it there for your marketing?
Kim, can I just add one thing real quick? Your first episode, if you're new to this, it's going to be messy. You're going to make mistakes. Do it anyway.
We all have proof. Go back and listen to any of our first episodes on any of the podcasts. There you go. I'm only giggling because I have heard stuff and I'm like, oh, could have said that so much better. But I do say it better today because I got moving and I did it back then. So please don't let anything stop you if that's what you want to do.
So I guess we'll hand it back to you, Kim and Jill, for our wrap up. And thank you for having us.
Kat, Denise, and Adam, thank you so much. Thank you for speaking today, everyone. Your generosity and your honesty today has been fantastic. And I hope you guys listening have soaked it all in. There was a lot of behind the scenes truths in this conversation.
There definitely were. And if you're leaving today with more questions than answers, it's okay. I just want to say that. Be at peace about that. Just know that it means you're actually thinking about what fits you, not just what all the internet gurus say you should do. We don't do the shouldies. So make sure you remember that part.
And before we completely wrap up, we've asked each of our speakers to bring one thing to help you keep moving after today. You don't need all of them. Just listen for the one that feels like your next right step.
Well, you'll see a visual on the screen with all of these listed. To get any of them, you can go to mysexybusiness.com/FES. I think we're going to see it on the screen, maybe. Maybe. We're trying. This is live also, so you know that as well.
Are you asking to show the website? I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I think Jillo has a visual for us.
I will share my screen. Okay. So
now push the button to share it to the stage. Yeah.
Do we want to be in this layout?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we wanted to share. Oh, go ahead, Kim.
I'm going to change it because Kat is behind the.
Exactly how we want you to look. See, this is what messy looks like when you go live.
I was hiding, Kim. I was hiding.
I love it. Well,
no icon hiding around here.
Like we said, we want to share these one things that all of our speakers have brought to the table for us today. So go be entertained by Adam on his Call Me Adam entertainment platform, where you can dive into his celebrity interviews and see a master interviewer at work.
Be like the other 3.5 million plus people who have visited. So Kat has the Keep It Moving 11-minute fitness challenge coming up. Perfect if you've been sitting at your desk way too long building this business that you're in. We will be there, Kat.
Yes. And Denise is sharing Quickly Find Your Perfect Keywords, the simple and easy guide to being findable so your content doesn't just sit unseen on the internet. Come up in those searches on the internet for people to find you.
If you're doing the work, let's let them find you. So Donna's invite is to the Big Show and Tell, her quarterly live stream where she shares creative, surprise, and delight marketing ideas. You can catch the next one on April 28th, and replays are on her YouTube channel at Donna Bender Giving.
And Yvonne has 10 playful prompts for midlife joy, a simple way to bring more play and curiosity back into your life and business.
And I'm going to brag on Jillo for a second. Her Mama Outspoken podcast is for moms who are building businesses and don't want to pretend it's easy. If that's you, go subscribe. All the podcatchers.
And from the My Sexy Business side, we would like to invite you to join the My Sexy Business community. And coming up in the community, we have our quarterly vision board party. It's a way to get your ideas and goals out of your head and into a clear picture you can actually move towards. You are invited to join us April 29th for our next one. All it costs is your email, and you can get it right from this website page as well.
Again, you'll find all of these at mysexybusiness.com/FES. And let me just add about the vision board party. A whole lot of the podcasts and shows that go on in this community have actually been born in the vision board party. So that is a great place if you're, toying with the idea. That's a great place to come and get a little more serious about it.
But before we really, really wrap up, Kim, the community, is there anything else that we want to talk about My Sexy Business community, especially after today's conversation?
I think anything you can do together helps so much to keep you going and helps you to be successful at things. So the community is a free community that we put together for that very reason. It's a home for entrepreneurs. Not everybody's a podcaster in there, just so you know. You don't have to be a podcaster to come. You will find people who are probably ahead of you on the journey. Some people may be behind where you're at in your entrepreneurial adventure. But we stick together because we recognize what it does for us as humans and us as business owners. So I would love for anyone who's interested to come to the community. It's free, and come join all the free events.
Yeah, you'll get to meet us in virtual person. I don't know how else to say that, but kind of put that trust factor in there too. See if this is a good fit for you to join in and hang out, but you'll get to hang out with all of us. So,
and if that's not enough,
yeah, right. Well, we want to say thank you so much to our incredible speakers for sharing your brilliance, and to everyone watching for being part of this conversation. You showing up for this is a big deal, just as much as us showing up. So we are so grateful that you've tuned in or you are watching the replay. We want to keep showing up, learning, and growing together.
Thank you for spending time with us. We're always honored to have you with us, either live or on the replay. And remember, there's no one right way to do visibility or your marketing. Choose what fits your life, your energy, we call it bandwidth around here, and your season of business. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you in October, if not before. Love y'all.